of charter ship brokers, but these others, even seafaring and the logistics and maritime issues, they are rarely touched with the subjects. We are very much comfortable with biology, geography, history, even the history of many things that are not even relevant, but they are there. You have to learn them. When did loading craft come and many other things. But then it's important that it's taken into account. So both in terms of the skills and the training is not there. What we have learned, lesson number one, you bring it to the attention of the politicians to get to know what is there, and then it picks up traction from there and starts moving. We did it when we did our first inaugural Maritime Conference in 2014, and we brought people who have tested what the blue economy is all about, and that really propelled us into setting up a structured way of dealing with it. That's lesson number one. Lesson number two, when you bring it and you happen to hold a conference like what we are holding now, we did our first inaugural conference, we came up with recommendations, and then from those recommendations we saw certain changes taking place. Then the Sustainable Global Blue Economy Conference, that was a major one, came up with a lot of recommendations. And from there we started now working on how do we then implement these recommendations. And then it's very easy to organize a conference like we are doing now. But after the conference, this is when the actual work now begins to start taking shape. Immediately after the Sustainable Global Blue Economy Conference, we felt that we pick up those recommendations and then we approach the county and the national governments and bring the agencies together. Because traditionally we have been operating in silos. Each agency, they do their own things. And sometimes they are at cross purposes. But you can never be a maritime nation unless you work together as a team. And this element of coordination, collaboration is so important, and we have seen a lot of acceptance in that, in handling the inland water issues in Lake Victoria, in Turkana, and the other lakes. And we brought the county and national government agencies together to form a collaboration framework where we identify the priority issues and we begin to address them. And we set up a technical team to do the monitoring and evaluation, and we follow up to see that that one is happening in place. The Maritime Administration is playing a very critical role in that aspect in terms of ensuring that we meet, we discuss, we agree, and then we set up timeline and then monitoring and evaluation tools to be able to see how we are progressing. That's a very big lesson. It has been widely accepted. We are doing it both for inland waters and the coastals. We have the Jumuiya counties of Pwani. We have just started working together, developing those frameworks and coming up with the action items that we can implement. If you do that, and you have this coordination framework, and you are able to compare notes and find out from the different clusters within the blue economy, it is possible to become a maritime nation if we pick up that pace and keep on moving. So from a conference like this, it's also possible to come up with very, very strong recommendations. Then after you leave here, then what do? Many a times we just sit back and say that was very wonderful experience, very nice presentation, but you don't do anything. Now, we talk, we come, and then we go back and start working. When we do that consistently, even with the AAMA coming up, we don't talk and let matters just die. We talk, and then we pick what we can do, and realistically set up a monitoring and evaluation structure, and that will be very, very useful. I have mentioned, I don't know if they have reached 6. There are more than 6. 3. I've mentioned 3. Yes. The third one is the regulatory framework. That's a lesson that we have learned. We needed to have the audits carried out to find out how we are in terms of implementing the IMO conventions, the STC. Those audits, they put you under pressure to make sure that you put your laws in order, you ratify, you adopt, and then you are able to work very well. And that when it puts you more so for the STCW, the white list, that is an impetus that can push you to be able to comply. When you have those regulatory frameworks sorted out, we are yet to be there. We are talking with the parliamentarians. Some of them will be coming here today. If you fix the laws, and that gives you a very good framework, particularly for administration like ourselves who are seated here. We not only deal with the safety, security, pollution issues, but also the relations among the various service providers, the business community. We have to find within our laws, how do we put a framework of identifying the challenges that the investors within the maritime space normally face and they are unable to deal with. If we can fix that one and allow the business environment, if it is a policy issue, fiscal, taxation, then we have to come in very strongly and see how it works. The conversation, the conference, the action that we do after the conferences, the legal framework that we put in place, and then the collaboration element, that is 4. And you just have to continue working so that we can see how it will work out. Nimejaribu lakini, oh sorry. I think that will be a very good platform to get us moving. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. John. It's your mother tongue anyways, you can't avoid it. We have seen that Kenya has moved actually and has already started to incorporate the maritime sector agenda into the national framework, national economic framework and development, I would say. So they are there. Hopefully, comes 2030, you'll be somewhere. So we have learned and picked a leaf from what you guys have done so far, with the help of IMO, conducting lots of workshops in the African region. I was going through the literatures and some news, and I've seen that you also had a workshop here in 2019 on the same theme that we are having now, that mainstreaming the maritime sector agenda into our national economic development plans. So I think you guys have made a progress, which is a good one. I would congratulate you, and I think you have to be ready to share with your colleagues, your neighboring countries, for the best of the continent. Now comes to the second panelist from Ghana. How to build awareness and understanding of maritime sector or blue economy and its contribution to national economic growth in Ghana.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, and good morning once again to all of us here. My name is Yao Akosa Entry. I represent the Ghana Maritime Authority, and I'm currently the Director General in charge of Finance and Administration. With respect to the question asked by the moderator, with respect to awareness that the government of Ghana has created over the period. Admittedly, government is aware of the importance of the maritime sector or the blue economy to the economy of Ghana. As we may all be aware, the maritime sector contributes significantly to the world output by providing goods and services in excess of about 3 trillion cedis on an annual basis. The sector in Ghana is very critical because it contributes significantly to the revenue base of the country with respect to taxes on imports, exports, amongst others. And due to the critical nature of the sector to the economy, government has taken cognizance of the need to ensure that that sector continues to thrive in a very sustainable manner. So government has put in place a lot of measures to try to create awareness. Chief amongst them is the lead role that the Ghana Maritime Authority plays in spearheading various campaigns across the country, right from the primary schools up to the universities, the churches, every nook and cranny, trying to get people to understand what it is that the maritime sector plays in their everyday lives. This, we are of the view that once that understanding is there, it whips up interest of the youth. Again, the government is also of the view that the private sector is the engine of growth, and government as a body in itself cannot do it alone. To this end, a framework policy has been established by the passage of the Private-Public Partnership Act, which was passed in 2020. This act seeks to draw clear guidelines of the roles government will play and the roles private sector will play to ensure that we are able to harness the true potential that exists within the maritime sector to ensure that the country is able to develop in a sustainable manner going forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ghana. And I think we can also see how our fellow Ghanaians have gone so far in terms of incorporating the maritime sector agenda into their national policies. Recognition of the private sector, specifically in the maritime sector. So you talk about shipping, you talk about international taxes, you talk about the customs duties, and the enterprises which are actually registered within our countries. They do participate in shipping. But we can't have them perform if we do not recognize them and put them into our national economic development plans. So I think we have seen how Ghana has done so far, and they have managed to learn from their brothers and sisters, Mombasa, and which is a good thing. We have to take opportunities to learn from each other. Thank you, Ghana. Now I'll move to the next panelist, who is Senegal. Can we see how do we enhance consultation and coordination of all stakeholders to secure buy-in and advance blue economy or maritime sector's contribution to the national economic growth?
Merci, Monsieur le modérateur. Thank you. Je voudrais d'abord inviter les chers participants à mettre le casque parce que je voudrais m'exprimer en français. Je vous remercie, Monsieur le modérateur. Je présente mes compliments aux femmes hôtes du Kenya pour cette belle organisation. Féliciter l'AMA pour l'organisation de cette 6e conférence et assemblée générale. Je voudrais saluer les chers collègues ici présents et m'empresser de répondre très rapidement, bien que le temps soit court, à la question qui m'est posée. Savoir comment améliorer la consultation des parties prenantes pour que traduction. It's good? Yeah, thank you. Donc je voudrais, pour répondre à la question, convoquer une petite pensée que j'ai pour faire rire un peu, mais rire pour prendre conscience. Ceux qui ont attaqué la mer dominent la mer et profitent de son potentiel. Je crois que c'est ce changement de paradigme qu'il faut imprimer à nos politiques publiques en matière de développement économique et social pour dessiner et construire une politique
fédératrice des énergies au niveau des sectoriels. L'exemple du Sénégal, avec la vision très éclairée d'ailleurs du chef de l'État, le président Macky Sall, a été décliné dans un plan Sénégal émergent, lequel plan, contrairement à ce qui est dit, prend en compte de manière très substantielle le secteur maritime. Parce que le plaidoyer que nous devons faire, nous tous, auprès des politiques, c'est de leur donner l'information nécessaire à la correcte prise en charge des questions maritimes. Ils ignorent tout du secteur maritime, de la mer. Si nous faisons le plaidoyer, nous, en tant que techniciens, auprès des politiques, ils comprendront l'enjeu et sinon les enjeux qui s'attachent au secteur maritime, pour les inclure dans les politiques de développement. Et de là, on procède à une co-construction de la politique. Le plan Sénégal émergent, aujourd'hui au Sénégal, a permis de prendre conscience du potentiel que nous avons dans le domaine de l'économie bleue et de traduire ça à travers ce qu'on appelle aujourd'hui une stratégie nationale. Nous considérons qu'au Sénégal, avec 96% des échanges commerciaux qui se passent par la mer, nous avons un intérêt immédiat à profiter ou à mettre en valeur le potentiel que nous avons à partir de notre plateforme. Et de là, nous avons instruit toutes les administrations, tous les sectoriels, à travailler ensemble pour développer cette concertation. Elle est importante. Chacun doit se retrouver à travers cette stratégie, et c'est ce que nous avons réussi en gardant le leadership au niveau du maritime. La stratégie nationale a été pilotée par l'Agence nationale des affaires maritimes, avec toutes les parties prenantes, parce que nous avons 70% de notre population qui vit sur la bande littorale, donc en relation directe avec le plan d'eau. Ce que nous avons réussi à bâtir aujourd'hui en termes de stratégie intègre tous les acteurs du plan d'eau, tous les usagers du plan d'eau, du tourisme à la pêche en passant par les transports. Mais ce que nous avons proposé aux autorités politiques est assez révolutionnaire. C'est un changement total de paradigme. Notre plateforme portuaire a toujours respiré au rythme de nos importations parce que nous exportons peu. Nous avons voulu inverser la tendance et faire en sorte que la plateforme génère suffisamment de production pour que l'économie nationale respire maintenant au rythme de l'économie bleue. Et nous pensons que les résultats que nous escomptons seront atteints pour affirmer la primauté du secteur maritime sur tous les autres modes de transport et faire en sorte que la question de l'environnement et de la sécurité soit dûment prise en compte. Si vous voyez un peu le document stratégique national du Sénégal, qui est le référentiel unique, ça se décline en 3 phases. Une transformation structurelle de l'économie, le développement du capital humain et la sécurité. Et dans ces 3 axes, nous nous retrouvons parfaitement dans la durabilité de l'exploitation des ressources liées au plan d'eau. Je vous remercie.
I should say merci beaucoup. Am I right? Merci beaucoup, Senegal. Though you have taken a little bit of my time. I think we actually had, for the English speakers, were we getting the translation correctly? I think it's on the first channel. Yes. We got it right, and I think we managed to grab some very critical points that have been put forward by our brother from Senegal. Conclusively, I think they are at that awareness stage, putting everyone that is interested in the maritime sector together so that they come forward with the agenda, putting all the stakeholders within the maritime sector, the blue economy agenda, and he has said that approximately 96% of their trade exchange is by sea, so they have to be really, really fast so that they get out of it. Now, we move to the next panelist, who is Liberia. You have 3 minutes to respond to this question. How do we enhance the profile of the maritime sector in our various countries? You're welcome.
Thank you very much. I'd like to, first and foremost, extend thanks and appreciations to the Kenya Maritime Authority, AAMA, for having us here to discuss these all important matters. To enhance the profile of the maritime sector, Liberia has been one of the countries leading the maritime sector in terms of its ratification of the International Convention on the Law of the Sea, which provides responsibility to all states, whether as a coastal state, as a flag state, or as a port state. So having said that, if I should take us through the various jurisdictions, the profile of Liberia is enhanced under the flag state jurisdiction by Liberia being the second largest flag state in the world. And by extension, we are the best in the world. We are on the white list. We have made sure that we have the lowest posted control detention in the world. We are also on the coastal state jurisdiction, which we have always been there to make sure the coastline and eastern navigations are already there and function properly. Liberia is a country whose maritime sector has been established since 1948. And to enhance the profile, we have globalized our maritime operations. We have inspectors globally in all major ports in the world to ensure that Liberia is a leading maritime nation in the world. We have also decided that we cannot register a ship on more than 20 years. This is enhancing the profile, making sure the ships are safe. We have ensured that we are only going to register vessels under IS, the International Association of Classification Society, which you all know. And not only that, to enhance the profile, we have gone so far and create a second layer. That is, we are make sure that we recruit more than 400 inspectors around the world to have a check on the classification society to ensure that the responsibilities which we gave them will be carried out. Thus, preventing Liberian ships from posted control detention. To enhance the profile, we are member of MOCA, we are member of Abuja MOU, we are member of AAMA, as you can see us here today. We are the fourth runner of Maritime Convention ratification. The IMO can attest to that. Liberia is a forerunner and implementing IMO conventions. Liberia will continue to play the leading role, and Liberia is here to help other countries be able to come on a white list if you're not on the white list. And Liberia is an open registry. And the open registry is the blessing of the maritime community. Without the open registry, countries who do not have ships will not participate in the global economy. So Liberia is an open registry with the highest standard in the world in compliance. So, and countries who have a closed registry have come to learn from Liberia that it is necessary and it's a must that they have an open registry. And they are following our example as an open registry. To enhance the profile, Liberia has decided to commence the intra-African trade because the intra-African trade depends on private-public collaboration. A government alone cannot do it. So I want to say thank you. I don't want to take much of your time. I can go on and on and on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Liberia. You don't want to take much of my time, but you have taken already. Anyways, it's good. And sounds interesting, I would say, particularly from where I am from. We are about to commence on our open registry. So I think I have to sign the letter this week, a request letter to Liberia Maritime Authority to come and learn. Hopefully, maybe in the next few months, we'll also commencing the open registry in Tanzania. Being the second largest in the world, that means you're the first in the region. So it's a good place to go and learn your success story. And you have also mentioned that you have globalized your operations. And another thing also we learned from Liberia, it's a good place as well to go and learn how the registration, open registration becomes successfully. I know you must have lots of tonnage, and also you must be complying to the IMO standards, especially the International Maritime Organization implementation of the instruments, that is III code. You have to comply with that, and I know you have been doing so, so to make your success story so visible. And you are also engaging with other members of African associations, the maritime associations in Africa, which is a good thing, that you share your experience, you share the knowledge that you have to boost the rest so that no one should be left behind. Thank you so much. As I said before, Tanzania will be there as a moderator, but I'm from Tanzania, the head of the Maritime Administration in Tanzania. We will be there one day in the next few months. Now moving to my last panelist there, Zama. If you excuse me, I will not mention your last name. I don't want you to file me a case. I'm not at home here. And the question to South Africa will be setting the vision, strategic goals, and action plans for maritime sector as pillar of economic growth. How does South Africa fare in this? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning to everyone. I think I'm going to take the lead from what Kenya has said. I think the starting point for any agency or authority to set a vision is what is it that the country considers to be its national priorities when it comes to maritime. Because remember, as an authority, you can only contribute to what the country considers to be priority. If you look at where South Africa is, I think maybe let me start by saying we ought to commend South Africa for the work that they do in terms of maritime. We are included in the National Development Plan. And South Africa takes it serious to understand that 80% of our trade actually happens in our ocean. And therefore, when we go and set our vision, we are clear on the dependence that we have in terms of what the ocean can do for South Africa. But also in setting our vision as a country is to understand what can it do for our people in South Africa as well as those that partner with South Africa or use our resources in South Africa. I'm going to go straight to what our vision is. Similar to that of everyone, our vision is to become an international maritime center by 2030. We break it down to say, because it is quite a big ambition, but we break it down and then we say, what is it exactly that we want to do as South Africa when we speak about becoming an international maritime center? We speak about ensuring the safety of those that use our resource. We speak about preventing and combating maritime pollution for sustainable maritime environment. And lastly, we speak about raising awareness about maritime within South Africa, understanding the opportunities that it brings for our people. Most important, and something that we've recognized in South Africa, is being able to not only concentrate on our seas, but to also concentrate our inland water. We've got a few provinces that actually rely on inland water. And we have developed a strategy that specifically speaks to that and to see how do we improve the economy in those specific provinces. Now, you asked the questions of how we set, and I think I've already covered that. The vision is therefore based on that. When we write the strategy, we write a strategy for 5 years, and we say this is, based on what our vision is, this is actually what we want to achieve. Now, we've also got quite a great administration in that they hold us accountable for whatever we have written. The strategy is done through a consultative manner where we sit with all involved organizations that impact on our strategy. You would understand when it comes to maritime, it's not something that is only for an agency. We rely on a few entities for us to be able to deliver on our mandate. So we do consult so that we acknowledge and we understand what the challenges would be, where our strength lies, and who do we need to partner with in order to ensure that we are able to deliver on our strategy. On a quarterly basis, we are held accountable on our strategy. It is through reports that we provide to the department, and the parliament itself gets an opportunity to ask us questions on the strategy that we've set and how does it still continue to speak to the country's priorities. I just wanted to make sure that I have covered exactly all of my points. The plans and action are also set through these. I'm going to stop right there, but the plans and actions are set from our strategy. It is yearly. They are reviewed on every 6 months just to make sure that we are still aligned in terms of what we have agreed to be doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Zama. And I'm told that we've got another participant as a panelist from South Africa who would like to add some few comments. So I'm giving him It's him, huh? Yes. 3 minutes to provide his comments on the subject. And I was told that he had some challenges. He couldn't be virtually on time, but luckily he's here with us. It's a globalized world now, so I'm allowed to say he's with us. He's welcome. Technicians, do we have the guy online? Okay, let's listen to him.
I'd like to greet you all. My name is Mombasa. I'm from the South African Maritime Safety Authority as well.
He speaks English or Afrikaans? English. Because I don't think you will have African translator here. we cannot hear on his side. So how do we make him know that he... Eh? Is he good to go?
Hello?
Tell him he has 3 minutes. Eh?
Thank you. Maybe because the moderator has just given me 3 minutes.
Oh, my friend
Maybe
from
I'll
London.
try to...
Okay. You're welcome.
Oh, thank you very much, sir. My name is Sipho Mbata. I'm from SAMSA. Maybe to pick up where Zama has left off is that we also have adopted the Comprehensive Maritime Transport Policy, which is not far from the AU African Integrated Maritime Strategy 2050. What Liberia has stipulated that they are the second largest ship registrar in the world, and our policy also talks to ship registry and ship ownership, and also talks about cabotage. I think there's a lot that South Africa can learn from Liberia on their registration, on the open registry, and also there's a lot to learn from Nigeria, because then we also want to establish cabotage. And when we talk about coastal shipping, it is important for our economy to play into that space. But then maybe going back to the AIM strategy, there's a lot that the African countries can extrapolate from that strategy, because it talks about how can we tap into the maritime sector, and there's a lot that we can explore, especially offshore and oil and gas, aquaculture, and there's so many. It's a very beautiful document that we can all use and benefit, and it was adopted by all member states of the African Union. I think then we can also use that blueprint in order to translate it into our national policy and national legislation for the African country to be prosperous in terms of the ocean's economy. Thank you, moderator.
Thank you so much for being on time. Are you in South Africa or London? He's gone.
I'm in South Africa right now.
Oh, not London anymore.
Yeah, not London anymore. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, our colleague from South Africa, for the additional comments that you really put forward. They were constructive, and dear participants, we have seen some progressive as well works, great achievements from South Africa in terms of putting their visions into actions, the strategic goals and plans into place, incorporating all the stakeholders in maritime sector, and trying to have their dream come true. As it was concluded by the colleague from South Africa virtually, that it's a good thing as well to see us learning from our fellow African administrations in terms of maritime issues. He has witnessed by saying so that also South Africa learned from Liberia. So I think we are in a better position also to share the knowledge that we have from ourselves, which is a good thing for me. So I think the other thing which is actually good to see, the blueprint that he has mentioned, it's a well-written document that we all need to see and learn and see what we can make use of it for the betterment of our African continent. I should go back to my brother, John. How are you? I hope you're not going to take my time again. Not anymore, because you have exhaustively, I would say, elaborated the points. You had two questions. And did you have these questions before? Why did you answer the second question then? I'm giving you a chance now. You should be only strict 3 minutes. Just tell us the specific policies, the framework and the institutional structure to promote the blue economy in Kenya. I know you touched some of the points, the framework issues you touched, so you can just make some kind of a recap. Okay. Yes, thank you. 2 minutes, not 3.
Thank you. Thank you. For us, we are excited at the moment. Just as was indicated by the minister yesterday, we have a whole ministry dedicated to handle blue economy, shipping and maritime affairs. We have a whole State Department that is closely monitoring what we do as maritime administration, and we are collaborating in helping that to be realized. But more specifically, we have the scope has been expanded under the Ministry of the Blue Economy to capture all the other issues that we have always advocated before this new framework had been set up. Now that it is set up and they have been given very high targets by our president, he's very keen on the outcomes from the blue economy, the previous president as well as the current one. They have been converted and they are fully supporting us. So together with the board and those kind of frameworks and people who are willing to collaborate, we have the fisheries, we have the mining, we have the hotel industry. We have told them that there are around 13 clusters within the blue economy space. We have several skills which are yet to be brought into the picture to be able to call ourselves a maritime nation. So, and we have the business community who are beginning to realize that there is a lot of fish. They didn't know there's fish in our waters. Now they have known fish. We're also promoting people to eat fish. We don't eat a lot of fish. So when they start eating fish, they provide good market for fish. Then we provide the infrastructure from the fisheries to get the fish brought in. All these interventions, as they take on place and we are there to report and record, I'm sure we are going to move to tell a different story next time that we are meeting. Bring the academia also, we are very active. Bring the business community, the government, and all these frameworks and the challenges are brought together. When we are talking, then we are able to speak a different language. So we look forward to continuing the process and seeing a lot of successes being talked about, not lamentations like we have been having in the past. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brother John, and you are lucky to be given at least extra minutes to recap. The rest will not have that chance, but we have discussed a lot, and I think most of the areas we really touched, and I'm sure the participants have enjoyed the session. Now, it's time for questions and answers, but also I welcome comments from the participants, and I would like to stress that to stick to the points which were actually discussed so that we don't go out of the scope. And the questions and answers and comments as well should be directly to the possible challenges, I would say, to introduce the matter of mainstreaming the maritime sector in national development planning in Africa. What do we really need to do? And the second one is, how can the International Maritime Organization help or assist nations to mainstream the maritime sector into their national economic planning? So the participants are welcome for questions, and the panelists will be ready to respond to your questions. I'll take about three questions, will be more than enough.
To the moderator.
So that we cannot go out of.
Sorry, we have a request to have a question from SG Moka. Comment before we proceed with the other participants. So kindly let's have the mic at the front desk, and then we will proceed. Yeah.
Thank you very much, moderator. My name is Dr. Paul Adaliku, Secretary General of Maritime Organization for West and Central Africa. My intervention is not necessarily a question, but just to lend my voice to the contributions of your panelists, to say that it is quite important across the continent to mainstream maritime into national economic policies, national economic planning. The examples of some countries like Nigeria you mentioned are quite apt. Nigeria has gone ahead to establish what they call the Cabotage Vessel Financing Fund, CVFF. It is quite a good model that I think many African countries would like to look at. I know one or two countries have said they are looking at that model. There is currently about $750 million in that fund available for stakeholders in the sector to access in acquiring vessels. Part of the problem we've seen on the continent is the lack of access to vessels. Many African countries today have become, well, for lack of a better word, flag states where foreign vessels come and register, they pay a fee of $1,000 maybe, but no African country today, as you will agree with me, owns a vessel. South Africa, yes, they're a member of the BRICS nations, which is making waves today, but unfortunately it's the only country in the BRICS membership that doesn't have a national vessel. Nigeria used to have about 20 vessels. Today they have 0. And how do you encourage this concept of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area? After today, we're talking about Africa opening its borders across boundaries. How do you trade among African countries if the maritime sector is not developed? 80% of global trade is conducted through maritime. Yet, this sector is dominated by foreign vessels. The blue economy, Kenya and the Seychelles are models on the continent to look at. You've gone very far. You've had your summits. We've come here to look at what you're doing. Keep it up. And I'm glad that there's currently a ministry of blue economy on the continent, or in the country. It is what other countries should look at. In some other countries, this blue economy is domiciled in the presidency. If it doesn't have approval at that level, you cannot achieve much. So it is in the interest of other maritime agencies across the continent to key into best practices. What some other countries are doing, let's look at them and copy from them. That was just my intervention. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Abuja MOU, I think you also had a comment just to add on that. In this case.
Thank you very much, all here present. I'm Captain Sondo Morin, the Secretary General of Abuja MOU. MOCA is more of, let's have ships. Let each country have ships. I am more of, you see, the world is a very balanced world. I am from the other aspects of the world that says, you may not have vessels, but foreign ships would need to come to your country. And so the aspect is, how do you ensure that rust buckets, vessels that are past their trading age in other countries, are not being pushed to your country? So my aspect is to ensure that no substandard foreign vessels are allowed to trade within the region. So you can see the balance that we achieve here. So back to the topic we have, the blue economy. It's not just a fad. It has to be some sort of consciousness, national and individual consciousness, that we all need to develop. Most of us don't actually map out what we call a maritime, maritime clusters. So what are the sectors that we can create a niche, that we can actually zoom into and make the best out of it? And so for me, it's let us get to understand the areas that we can actually create a niche and work on it. I think again, AAMA, it's good to hear the stories. Oh, we have a strategy, But what I would have loved to see probably would be a situation whereby a country coming up to say, look, in 5 years, we're going to have 20 windmills. In 5 years, we're going to have a new shipping line. In 5 years, we're going to create this. And in the next meetings we come, it will be a case of the country passing out a report that, oh, yes, we've said we're going to have 20 ships in 2 years. We have actualized that. So we have our goals. I think we need to redefine a goal. A goal in football is you score 1, we mark 1-0, not just a plan. So what are the goals? So next we meet will be a case of, let's see your scorecard. What have you actualized? So let it not just be a dream, a dream that we all probably over the years will be discussing, but let's talk about the things we are going to actualize, and we will bring it to the table. Let all the nations see and probably latch onto or actually look onto you as a mentor. So I think that's just the bit I wanted to add to what's been discussed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your valuable comments.
Thank you. Yes, AAMA Director. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. In response to your question regarding IMO's role in the assistance for countries in their maritime development, I would like to draw your attention on the resolution 1166 32, which was adopted by the 32nd session of the IMO Assembly. The name of the resolution is IMO's Capacity Building Strategy. The long-term strategy of IMO's technical cooperation. The name is Capacity Building Decade 2021 to 2030. Among one of the 4 main work streams, there was a support member states in maritime development. And this work stream emphasized that, I can read the first paragraph, you can realize what we are talking about actually. Perhaps the biggest challenge to sustainable maritime development is the failure of governments to appreciate the value of maritime transport sector. and of the wider blue economy. Political will and national organization are key, and consistent with its vision statement, the Capacity Building Decade Initiative will engage and facilitate member states' commitment to maritime development in 5 key areas. And I will omit those detailed description of what IMO will do to support member states in these aspects. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Director, Technical Cooperation Division, IMO. Yes, next.
Thank you. All protocol observed. Thank you, moderator, and thank you to the panelists with all the presentations. My name is Unati Sonti from the Maritime Business Chamber. With regards to your question, moderator, and based on the presentations that we heard from the panelists this morning, I think for us, and on top of what the ambassadors and the Secretary General have also alluded to, the opening address yesterday, I think the remarks from that session somehow have given us a way forward with regards to this conversation that we are having today. And I think it is for this assembly that we should reflect on those on top of what each and every state is currently doing and implementing, and see how do we then integrate those as action plans, because I think that's what Captain Sandu was saying, but that's what we need as action plans to move forward. And I think that is the only way. But the other aspect to mainstreaming and also, positioning the African region as the maritime center in the global conversation. What is very key as well would be an integration and collaboration amongst all organizations, interventions that are the associations. Because whilst we are having this discussion today with the African, administrators, where are the African harbor masters? Where are the port managers? Because if we have these conversations in isolation, where are the key government decos and all these people with authority, where are they in this conversation? So if we have this in isolation with everything else, we would continue coming back and we deliberate on things that we have deliberated upon in the previous assemblies. And I think that is how we can be able to, to move forward, and all of us coming together as a united African continent in discussing this agenda of positioning Africa. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your valuable comments. I can see so many hands. Manaulu,
Yes.
do we have time?
We can only take 2 more questions, otherwise we will delay the
Only
next
2
session.
questions, and I will not have a chance to conclude. The topic was so interesting, eh?
Yes, we need more time.
So, gender.
Yes, gender first.
Gender.
There's a lady at the back, moderator.
I'm a man of women. Yeah, of course. I love my mom. I'm missing her so much. Yes, give the mic to the lady there with the long hair.
I'll go straight to the point. This is with the job creation for the young ladies and gentlemen. Ever since yesterday, I've been hearing about the seafarers about what you can do to continue giving them the jobs and everything. I feel like you've forgotten about us who are part of the Maritime, but we are not seafarers. We have the degrees in Maritime, we have studied the ICS. So as you're creating the policies, kindly create these policies while you're speaking to maybe the shipping lines, the shipping companies, to include us, to take us as we are, to accept us, and like before when the shipping lines would prefer to maybe work with other sectors like the purchasing, procurement, and others. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much for your valuable comments. I think we have heard that one. IMO at certain point had this theme, mainstreaming the gender equality, something to do with gender equality in maritime sector, not exclusively in seafarers. Okay. Those who are doing shipping. Okay. Liberia, you want to continue teaching us? Okay. I'll give it to Liberia.
Sorry, even though you are saying Liberia, but it's important to know I'm also the chairman of the Marine Environment Protection Committee of the IMO. You see where I'm sitting?
1 minute.
IMO?
1 minute.
Yeah, 1 minute. No, basically, I just want to, because it's important when we are talking about a SIPO in Bata from South Africa mentioned it, the AIM Strategy 2050. And it was adopted by the heads of states, the AU heads of states in 2014. That document is important. I just want to tell you, anybody that's interested, I have it here now. Give me your email. I will email it to you. So you don't need to go all over the place. I'll email it to you. Okay. The key thing about that document, and since you are all heads of Africa Maritime Administration, is that document calls for the establishment of the Department of Maritime Affairs at the African Union. Up to now, it hasn't been done. So you, the politicians, you need to take that up, because everything you are talking about, this blue economy, is a comprehensive document, which if implemented, I can tell you, Africa will be a global force. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your valuable comments, Liberia. I think I will give special, I would say, very, very special. No, gender is gone. We've given them already. It was only one for my mom, and I've given already a chance. So I'll give two extra chances to our colleagues from the shipping industry. I think maybe they want to comment on the point that was raised by my sister there. So we've got a representative from Maersk, and the next chance will be given to our fellow from African Development Bank. We really want to hear from the banking industry and how we incorporate the ideas maybe he has to the maritime sector. Maersk, you're welcome.
Yes, thanks a lot.
1 minute.
1 minute, I'll do it short. My name is Jacob Holbach. I'm responsible for the ocean transport for Africa, for Maersk, and based in South Africa in Cape Town.
Okay.
Very happy to be here. We move around 1 out of 3 containers in and out of Africa today. And we also invest in seafarers, in learnership programs. We of course develop ports, ships, and also now go landside with warehouses, cold chain, etc. All with the purpose to bring African products to the markets in the Far East and Middle East and Europe. When I compare Africa with other parts of the world, some of the things that make Africa transport more expensive is that the ports are less developed. So we bring smaller ships to Africa, maybe a ship that can carry 4,000 containers, instead of a ship that can carry 16,000 containers. So to bring down costs, I'd advise and recommend focus on the ports, make sure that the ports actually have the necessary draft, the length and the cranes so they can cope with bigger ships, we can have more economies of scale, and we can drive down the costs. So ports is one part. Second part on documentation. To do customs clearance in many African countries today is very, very cumbersome. You need lots of stamps, documents, and it takes a long time. This can be made a lot more efficient and digitized and will help move goods faster and also make it less costly. Two things there's been a lot of discussions about here today. A lot of countries talk about having their own ships. Just to give you an update on what the global outlook is, on container side, the container vessels, there's 30% more capacity coming in worldwide the next 2 years in a market that globally is growing 1 or 2%. So a lot of ships are already being produced in the shipyards and are coming into the markets. So that's the first thing. The second thing is there's a lot of talk about cabotage. I think we all want Africa to grow and prosper, and a key part of that is that we have free trade, right? So to me, all these cabotage rules seems to be a little bit contradictory, that it actually creates more barriers instead of opening up the markets so that all the African countries can serve each other and we create one big trading platform. So those were the points. More focus on ports, customs make it easier, and then lots of ships are coming, and I'm not sure cabotage always is the right solution.
Thank you so much, our colleague from Maersk. So reduction of costs, automation of our documentation procedures, that means about customs clearance, automation as well, and inefficiency in our ports. So we take that as a challenge, and we'll see how we can improve the our operational procedures. The second chance was going to AFDB.
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you to those who facilitated. Mainstreaming the maritime sector is a very important subject. I work for the African Development Bank. I've been in this sector for many years, but when I joined the bank, I noticed the other sectors have higher visibility in the country reform agendas. And I think I want to first and foremost agree with Zama and John Omingo, what they have said. And I just want to focus on that summary. What Zama said is, to be able to mainstream the maritime sector, there is need to identify the challenges and the strengths, and this would come in a strategy proposition. And why this is very important, I find that the other sectors already have gone through that dialogue and have identified their strengths and the opportunities. So in each of the individual countries that are represented here, there is need to articulate that, because that then forms the basis in which you have then dialogue with the ministries of finance to facilitate resource mobilization. Having that lens now from the development sector world is that dialogue with the ministries of finance then enables the aspects, the critical aspects, the critical priorities to be addressed and incorporated in country strategy papers which the respective ministries of finance negotiate and engage with the development banks. In absence of that, then you would find that the sector level of readiness to mobilize resources and to be prioritized as an important sector in the respective country is watered down. So there is need to improve the state of readiness of the maritime sector in the individual countries by preparing appropriate strategy papers which highlight the strengths and the challenges and the priorities. And that would help in whatever dialogue you have, whether it's with IMO, with the World Bank, with the African Development Bank, or any other development bank that you will interact with. Those are prerequisites. To add on, the Secretary General of the Abuja Treaty did speak on the need to have the results outlined. So in that whole dialogue, it's important also to have the logical results framework which highlights the expectations or the intended outcomes of that process. Armed with that, then the maritime sector will be mainstreamed and placed where to belong, given the role that it plays in trade facilitation globally. And I think, since I have the floor, I think the same would need to happen for the gender perspective. I wanted to say this yesterday. There is need for AAMA to discuss and agree on the approach so that there is a documented common approach and agreed approach on how to handle the gender issues, incorporating the strengths that we have in this sector, the challenges, the plan of action, and the expected monitoring framework, and possibly the structures to allow that whole agenda to be taken beyond the discussion we had here yesterday. Those are the comments I wanted to make as a contribution to this particular session. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, my brother from AFDB. Let me just add some points. I think AAMA, they are very, very sensitive when it comes to gender issues. There are old ladies there. You can even see them. So they're very active and very, very sensitive in gender issues. I think they are aware. So, dear participants, I think we have come to the end of our session, and I would like to make some concluding remarks. Guys, we don't have time. That is the problem. I know the topic is very interesting, but in the interest of time, one more. The cost of doing business. Okay, one last chance. 1 minute, 1 minute.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Honorable Badi Twalib. I'm a member of parliament. My question goes to Mr. Omingo. Omingo, you have said that we want Kenya to be a maritime nation, and yet the cost of doing business in Kenya is so high. I have seen my colleague from Maersk Line defending himself, especially on the shipping lines. If somebody has imported a container to come to the country, there are a lot of charges being paid to the shipping lines. For example, freight, delivery order fee is being paid at the shipping line. And yet we know very well a consignee, by having a bill of lading, certify him to be the real owner of that container. We are being charged terminal handling charge at shipping lines, especially Maersk, and also at KPA. There is container management fee, there is cleaning charges, admin fees, which were not previously charged. So, my question to the Kenyan authority, are other authorities charging the same as you do to the consignees? Second, my question goes to a good lady from South Africa. I'm asking about the port of Durban.
But you said one
any
question.
Support?
You said one question.
Humble request.
Another humble request.
to South Africa. Durban port. Is there a way that the port of Durban supporting Ethekwini municipality in South Africa? That's my question.
Thank you so much. That was our last question. I would say questions. Mzee wangu, I really want to give you a chance, but the problem is time. You know, next time I'll be penalized. They will not give me a chance to become a moderator again. Is they very hot? We will have some more time. Next year, somewhere else. AAMA, make sure you have this topic again next year. It's very hot. It's even banning me as a moderator here.
Thank you very much, moderator.
Just 1 minute.
Yes.
If you can use 30 seconds, I'll appreciate.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have African presidents for our countries. And we also have, Maritime Authority CEO here. And now we also have an African for our honor, but we don't have our own shapes. My point is, to me, this is all a white elephant. We have big structures, but on what? On icebox? So, we need to look at other sectors. Look at aviation. They have aviation, or what we call aviation protocol, aircraft protocol, which is headquartered in Dublin. To start an airline, you don't have to have the capital to buy planes up front. With the aircraft protocol, any country that has ratified the protocol, operators from those countries are able to acquire planes and pay gradually as they do business. We are soon trying to establish a railway protocol that is actually headquartered in Luxembourg. This will enable railway operators to have rolling stock without having to pay for them, provided their countries, their member states, have ratified the railway protocol. I think the same thing could be done with shipping. Can we establish a shipping protocol whereby member states that we have ratified the shipping protocol will liaise, will have an agreement with shipping manufacturers so that African can have their own shipping lines, operating without having to have, their capital up front. This is doable, it is possible. A simple Boeing 737-800 next generation cost about $250 million. But with the Panama ship size this guy was talking about, it had a cost $100 million. The vessels we are using, okay, fine.
Thank you.
What I'm saying, we have our priorities lopsided. We're investing in the airplanes, very well knowing that shipping is more lucrative and more supportive economically.
Thank you.
Than airplane.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your valuable comments. And I think I will have to give a chance to Mr. John Omingo to respond to the question. Very quickly, yes, very quickly. In less than 30 seconds, I think. You're welcome, my brother. Okay. You're welcome. So that I have my concluding remarks. Eh? Otherwise, I'll be fired.
Well, in 30 seconds, the issues that the honorable member had asked about the costing, indeed, is a matter that we are concerned with also equally. That, sorry? Sorry, something? Oh, okay. That is a matter that is falling squarely on the AAMA's desk, so that we look at it critically and find out what is the best way of dealing with it. Ideally, all the cost elements in an ideal environment should be put into the market so that the market doesn't force you to charge low freight rates. And then when you come here, you have destination charges, which you either take it or leave it. And since somebody is holding your documents, you can't help it, but you simply pay. So we need to work on a framework where at the source, at the port of loading, the charges are deliberated at that particular point. And when you pay once. You come to Mombasa, you don't pay anybody any other money. Let the agents earn their monies from the principals, from the other side. And that is a direction that we need to pick up, find how other members are dealing with it, and we address it totally so that it doesn't become the kind of expert that we are countering. Thank you.
I will now lobby to His Excellency the President for you to be confirmed, not to act as an MP.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Brother John Omingo. You know, I'm also learning so many things from this guy. He's very good. He's very good. And he has been humble. since I've known him. Anyways, I will throw the mic to my colleague here. He wanted less than 30 seconds just to add some before I give you a chance to respond, or you should just respond then.
Yeah.
I'll come back to you.
Chair,
AAMA, how long are you going to take?
No, I'm not even going to take long. I think you were they were requesting if you could pass the mic to South Africa.
Yeah.
So the good part is that we actually have someone from Durban, eThekwini municipality, and they will be able to respond to you. So I'm going to hand to South Africa if you can kindly respond.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. In response to the question, all our ports, they are part of the IDP, which is an integrated planning development. So automatically, the ports feeds the local community or the local municipality. And also, there is also what is called the SEZ, the Special Economic Zones. So all of that, it becomes one thing, and there's a framework in that regard of how the ports, they get to feed their direct local municipalities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my brother, for your response. I would also like to give you less than 1 minute. My colleague from Senegal, you said you wanted to stretch some point. Yeah, go ahead. Less than 1 minute, please, please.
Merci. Thank you, Chair. Je voudrais juste, parce que la question qui m'a été posée était très précise, j'ai répondu à cela. Mais sur la question, relativement aux questions qui sont posées, je pense que nous devons rester sur la pertinence et l'opportunité d'avoir une stratégie nationale au niveau maritime. C'était ça la question. Pas ce que contient, parce que nous sommes en train de faire des stratégies. Si chaque pays a une stratégie adossée au plan, au référentiel national de développement économique et social, forcément nous implémentons les orientations stratégiques des documents de l'UA et des engagements internationaux de nos États en matière maritime. C'est cela la pertinence. Forcément, c'est le cas du Sénégal. Les deux plus grands investissements de l'histoire économique du Sénégal concernent le domaine maritime et portuaire. Nous avons 2 ports en eau profonde à 18 mètres de profondeur. Ceci, sans une vision et une stratégie, nous n'aurons jamais pu l'avoir. Le plus grand nombre d'emplois pour les jeunes et les femmes seront générés par la stratégie nationale de développement portuaire. Nous inversons la tendance. C'est important, Monsieur le Président, parce que nous avons été toujours remorqués par l'activité économique terrestre. C'est nous qui devons guider nos économies parce que nous en avons le potentiel. C'est à cela que nous devons travailler. Je vous remercie.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you so much, my brother from Senegal, for your valuable comments and additional inputs that you have put forward. Now, coming to the concluding remarks, I would like firstly to thank you all for your participation, but for your valuable comments that you have raised. The questions were very, very constructed, and I would say the panelists as well were very good and engaging. I would also like to express my sincere appreciation to the colleague from South Africa who actually eventually managed to join us in this discussion. Now, coming to the conclusion of the topic, I think we really need to restructure the government organs, I would say. I've seen that in a couple of countries, mostly Asians. I think Bangladeshi and Sri Lanka and India. They've got that kind of spatial ministries which deal with maritime issues. The same as Kenya, I think. You had a Minister of Land, Works, and everything in there. I think you had so many sectors in the same ministry, but now you have this kind of ministry that can actually concentrate on the maritime issues specifically. I think we should start as African continent. Most of us, we are more or less the same, the structures of our governments. So we should start from there. As maritime administrations here under AAMA, we should advise the governments to restructure the ministries, then coming down to the operational institutional levels, so that we actually pass the concept of mainstreaming the maritime sector into the national economic development plans. And I would also like to comment on the comments actually put forward by the director from IMO, Technical Cooperation Division, that they are ready to assist every member state through the resolutions, through the technical cooperation workshops, trainings, and all that stuff. So I think we are good to go. We are good to go, and I should stop here. Thank you so much again, and may God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. A round of applause for the panelists. I think it's been one of the most interesting discussions. Next year, I think we can repeat this topic. I wish to thank the Director General TASAC, Mr. Mkeenge, for the excellent facilitation and moderation for this particular session. And we look forward to key resolutions that will be incorporated in the report arising from this dialogue. At this juncture, I would like now to make some administrative announcements. We will proceed for tea break. We'll have ushers to show you where you have the tea. And the next session, this is quite important. So the next session, we have a closed session for AAMA, and this will only be applicable to AAMA and the members of AAMA and observers. I'm also informed that for the session that will proceed for tomorrow, the IMO GHG session on low carbon shipping. Okay, thank you. I'm advised that for the closed session, the AAMA business session, international delegates only, and the AAMA members are supposed to be in this room to proceed. Okay. For tomorrow's session, the IMO conference on low carbon shipping, it will start at 8:30 promptly. Kindly be seated by 7:45. There will be transport for the delegates organized between the hotels, I think as was done yesterday and today morning. So the pickup from the hotels will be by 7:30. So kindly be ready. So those are the announcements. There's also an announcement for some meeting sessions that will be held in the afternoon. The Association of African Ship Owners, led by Madam Funmi, will be having some meetings, and you will be guided on the meeting room. If I can just take that again. ISCOS, MOCA as well will have their meetings in the advised meeting room. Please contact me for the location of the room. I'll be available for that. And UNECA as well are requested to join the meeting with ISCOS, MOCA, and PAMESA. Thank you. So those are the announcements. We will now proceed for tea. You may proceed. Have a good afternoon, and I believe the next session will be guided by the AMA Secretariat that will take charge of that session. So tea break is next. So after tea, that is the end of the session. If you're not involved in the AMA session, this is the end of today's session. Thank you.
Hivyo unapopiga iko. Piga tena.
Thank you.